The tribal chief has made it clear, not happy with his position, but also understands that maybe it's time for it to acknowledge Solo. Yes, did I say that right? Roman Reigns acknowledging Solo? At least that's how SmackDown kicked off. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but woo, what an episode. Coming up on this episode of Break It Down with Brian H., I jump into how the Bloodline has become very bold, but not beautiful. Young and not restless. Or maybe it is restless. It's a storyline as the Bloodline turns. Any soap opera pun you think about it, we're going to talk about it on this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Shout out to Hypnosis on the beat. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Keep it at 100. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. Now, here's a programming thing this week. Y'all know the Wrestling Around Now podcast happens. I will not be on there unless, borrowing, I'm not busy, but I'll be going out of town to handle some business. I'm going to be on the West Coast. So because of that, my brothers, they're going to hold it down. But y'all know the Bloodline, the story just keeps getting better, and I had to talk about it. So I said, you know what? Before I finish packing equipment, let me set up the studio real quick. We're going to talk about it. So this Friday on SmackDown, we saw Jey Uso. Now, if you watched this week's episode of Wrestling Around Now podcast, you would have saw that I said it was good for business that Jey Uso be involved in the Bloodline story. That was good for business that he gets involved in this, that he was a part of everything that was happening with the family. And guess what? It did. Now, here's some more things, right? WWE is not playing with our intelligence. Everybody knows that Jimmy and Jey are twins. And when you are twins, that is a different type of connection. Yes. But, people fall out, people have issues, but there's always that love there. Yes, Solo is their younger brother, but there was no way Jey Uso was going to be able to stay away. I mean, come on now. So he would come out, interrupted Solo's promo, and he said something that a lot of people are thinking, why are you trying to tear the family apart? And that's the biggest issue. And remember what I said, when The Rock came out, I believe he was upset because of the dissemination in the family. So it's one of those things that if you're not Solo Sikoa and you're in this family, you're mad that he's trying to tear the family apart en route to becoming the tribal chief. That's the issue. So Jey Uso comes out there and he says all of that. And of course he wanted his big brother acknowledgement. But it was so funny because Jey is cutting this promo and he's going back and forth. And then he goes, "Are you done yet?" And I was like, oh, man. Are you done yet? And it made me laugh. I ain't gonna lie. It had me laughing. Because I'm like, man, Solo. And I remember, he talked to Jey Uso, that is pronouns pal, talked to us over at the Ringer. And one of the things he said was about Solo, he said they made him go to college. They made him before he did all that, right? And then they said, man, he was so quiet now they can't give him a shut up. So that's one layer to this Bloodline story. And then another thing, right? Another thing when he said, why you had to go and get them. Now, regardless to what many people may think, right? A lot of people, I've seen it all online, that Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, they don't have the same aura. It's a Timu bloodline, and obviously Jacob is a part of it, right? And everybody's waiting for Jacob to break loose. But here's the thing. Roman, Jimmy, and Jey keep solidifying and keep letting everybody know how dangerous, even Paul Heyman, how dangerous the Bloodline 2.0 is. Every time they say, why did you have to go out and get them? You're supposed to leave them alone because they savages, right? And it's like we said on the Realm Now podcast, everybody has those set of cousins that you don't call unless it get real ugly, unless it get real dangerous. Now, here's the thing. In all fairness to Solo Sikoa, right? No, he is not the tribal chief. But in all fairness, right? It did get ugly. Roman Reigns lost the WWE Undisputed Championship to Cody Rhodes. And Roman told him this was his next, right? Now, in Solo's mind, once that moment where they couldn't get the same French benefits, right? They couldn't walk in the same locker room. They had to be a part of everybody else. That's when it became an issue, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the reason why Solo said, oh, okay. Well, since the family obviously can't win, Jimmy and Jey had lost the titles the year before. Then they was feuding with each other. Roman losing the title this year. Solo did what he felt he had to do. Because remember, Solo never lost his title. He had to give it back. His NXT North American Championship. Solo never lost his belt, folks. And what did he do? He brought the titles back into the family. The Bloodline, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa are tag team champions. So I thought that was very interesting, right? So now we got Jey. Then we get Roman back, and you can see Jey is still hurt. Because like he even said, nobody got a problem more with me than Roman, but he left. That was his thing. He wasn't going to divide the family. He left. Now, if he do remember, he said, if you out the Bloodline, I'm out too. Super kicked the Roman, but that was being united with his brother. Once his brother was still there, stepping in, he tried to warn Solo, but he left. And now you can still see the hurt when he said no yeet to Roman. And the bottom line is the story they telling is great. They need help. Now I love Roman saying, look, I'm gonna have to acknowledge Solo. I was like, what? What are you doing? Not the tribal chief. You're our tribal chief. You're not supposed to acknowledge Solo Sikoa. But in his head, that's what he felt he had to do. And I love that he was out there. He said, well, what do you think? What? So, okay, you think the family's better with you at the head at the table? And it's always that, right? Like the person who's the leader, the person who's at the head of the table, the person who's in charge, the person who does the most work, they do so much stuff that people don't understand. They bear the responsibility that a lot of people don't see. And that's what Roman was trying to tell Solo. You don't know. You're not capable of this. Is the family better with you at the head? So with all of that, and then they still attack Jimmy. And, Roman gets attacked. He said, you're going to keep catching these beatdowns, which I thought was hilarious. Roman's going to have to admit, he acknowledged Jimmy. He acknowledged Big Jim. He's going to have to yeet. Roman is going to have to acknowledge Jey Uso. He's going to have to acknowledge main event Jey Uso. Now, the question could be, will Jey Uso be so distracted in this family business? Because he still got Braun Breaker coming back for his title. So will he be too distracted? Will the Bloodline cost Jey Uso the championship? Because personally, that's what I think is going to happen. Because I think there will be satisfaction for Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa and Jacob Fatu and Solo, that if they could cost Jey his title, and then they can force Jey to get back with Jimmy and they can rip them apart again. That's where I think it's going. Like I said, this thing got so many different soap opera parallels, and they've been telling us this is the greatest story ever told. Y'all can talk about the NWO. Y'all can talk about Kane and Undertaker. Y'all can talk about the Mega Powers explode, Austin versus But to me, the Bloodline story is the greatest story ever told, and it's keep being written as we speak. Because when it first started, do y'all think Cody Rhodes was penciled in to be the one to dethrone the tribal chief? No! It's the greatest story because it's changing. It's ever so changing, right? You think there was a plan for the Gorillas of Destiny and Jacob Fatu to be inserted in chapter 4? We're going to go by the years, right? So it's 2024. You think it was insert chapter 4? We'll bring in... No! But if it was, it's brilliant. And I'm here for it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know where they're going, but I will say this. Roman Reigns, you need help. You're going to have to eat. You're going to have to acknowledge main event Jey Uso because there's no connection. I don't care what anybody says. Solo's Bloodline, they do not have the same connection that Roman Reigns and the Usos have. And that's all I got to say about that, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure y'all follow me at Brian H. Waters on all social media platforms. Check out the Wrestling Realm Now podcast this Wednesday. Check out Championship Culture this Tuesday. Check out all the shows, all the programming, all the lineups. And I promise you will not be disappointed. Until the next time, folks, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody.